Today for the Bitcoin, but more importantly, NFT altcoin prices with BitBoy We are going to talk about the top 3 NFT altcoins no one is looking at, actually hidden gems. He will reveal today not only the altcoins, the NFT altcoins he is looking at right now with potential price targets, but more importantly, his strategy on the altcoin market, how he's selecting them, and why it is actually important to look at NFTs, why it is not too late to get in. We will be talking about all of that, but before we are doing that, by the way, guys, watch until the end. I think number 3 will surprise you, but before we are going into all of that, I wanted to ask the most important question of today. BitBoy Ben, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. You know, the market's always volatile, but you know, whether it's a green or a red day, you know, life's good when you're in crypto.
Yeah, I love how you have the red shirt and in the background some red. I think that's on purpose, but maybe we'll go into that later on. I think the most important topic, or like the topic where everyone is talking about, even the mainstream is getting in, big people are talking about that, search traffic going higher, is NFTs. And the question is it already the end of the bull market for NFTs? Is it a bubble? Is it going to end very soon? But then, of course, I want to go a little bit more into it because everyone who is interested, they're asking the questions, which NFT altcoins to go into? Because most of them will eventually go to zero. We want to spot those ones which have a high growth potential and which are here to stay. So first of all, I wanted to know from you, why are NFTs important? What is the growth potential? And then I want to go into these 3 hidden gems you were promising in the beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions out there right now. There are a lot of misconceptions about NFTs. There's a lot of talk about bubbles and, you know, everything's overvalued. And, you know, I think what people have to understand is it is apparent at this point that NFTs, and people have said it for a long time, but it's come to fruition, they are the gateway to the mainstream. And we were chatting, but right before we went live here, or when we went on air, that something very interesting has happened on YouTube for me. So I have a tool that I use that basically will feed me keywords. And it says, you know, use Bitcoin, use cryptocurrency, use Ethereum, you know, it's tags in your video or, you know, in your title. Well, over the last month, the #1 word that is coming up that YouTube is saying, do content on this, it's NFTs. And while a lot of our audience are in crypto, they've already been, you know, invested in this market for a long time. They know what NFTs are, of course, non-fungible tokens, but the mainstream is coming. And that if you look at the spike in the search for NFTs, not just on YouTube, but on Google in general, it shows you the proof is in the pudding there. And a lot of people have this common misunderstanding that NFTs are a bubble. And that's when you really have to understand there's 2 different types of bubbles, if you will, or cycles with NFTs. You have #1, like the collectibles themselves. Like you could argue that art from Beeple is overrated and that it's a bubble, or you can argue that the crypto punks or the moon cats, which are some different kinds of NFT collectibles, that they are in a bubble and eventually that will pop. But the actual bubble of the cards or collectibles themselves is different than what we're seeing in the value of the blockchains and the cryptocurrencies that are behind these NFTs. And even if we do have some collapse of NFT prices, like if one individual card or series of cards gets, you know, the price drops, that doesn't mean that the cryptocurrency price is going to drop. They're 2 separate things. If you look at the art NFT bubble, I think there is one. But when it's actually the blockchains that are running these NFTs, I think they're going to be, you know, spiking up kind of like we saw in the early days of DeFi.
I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for bringing that up because you actually share my opinion. I think that art, for example, there is no barrier to entry, right? Like nearly everyone and their mother could make a piece of art, NFT it and sell it. So whenever you have a high potential supply expansion on the supply side, like with NFTs, well, of course, you are going to see some bubble behavior. Of course, you are going to see a crash. But on the other side, you have these platforms, actually the Krakens on top of that, which there is a barrier to entry where you have to add value and where you can actually benefit from the whole growth of the market. And this, if you just go back into 2017, before we go into your top 3, it is a big similarity to the ICO space. If you were banking on Ethereum, on Ethereum or whatever, Cardano, on the big platforms surrounding the ICOs, well, the ICOs themselves, they were in a bubble, but I wouldn't call Ethereum at $1,000 US in a bubble, right? Point. Exactly. So if you just bank on the platforms, on the Krakens above that bubble, long term, you still did very well. And I think this will be the same for NFTs, NFT platforms here. So let's get into that. BitBoy, may you start with number 1, then number 2, and then in the end, let's do number 3.
Let's get into it. Okay, guys. So coming in at number 3, I have Flow. Now, if you've never heard of Flow, this is the blockchain that is behind NBA Top Shots, which has been the absolute most massive thing, in the collectibles world to hit NFTs. And these I saw one yesterday that was selling for like $90,000. They're moments from NBA games that are tokenized. And this was kind of the first step of a major sports league to get into crypto. But here we go. I want to show you guys this because if you look at Flow, one of the interesting things about it is it's not really available on a lot of exchanges. You guys can see here, it's not on Uniswap. It's not on Coinbase. It's not on Binance. You got to go to Huobi Global or Kraken, CoinList, Gate.io, Huobi Indonesia, and HitBTC, which don't use HitBTC. It has a lot of problems. But the point is, it's hard to buy. And I know for a lot of people, they say, oh, it's hard to buy. I wouldn't want to get in that. That's evidence that even with as popular as it is, you can still be early. You want to get in these projects before they have major exchange listings, because that usually will be what takes them to the moon. So Flow is my number 3 pick. It's already had a massive run up, as you guys can see, it's definitely corrected over the last few days.
All right. So, but before we are going to the next one, BitBoy, I wanted to ask you quickly, do you have any price target in mind for Flow here?
Yeah, I think when you look at what Flow is doing with the NBA Top Shots and you look at the high potential of a lot of the top NFT projects, the ones that have already pumped, like Chili's, for instance, or Theta, or some of the other ones that are up in the 10 to 30 range on CoinMarketCap, I think it's pretty reasonable to expect that this one still has a 10x left. When you look at 90, it's ranked number 90 on CoinMarketCap. It can definitely get into the top 25, the top 30 with this NFT craze. I think $250 is a reasonable price target for Flow.
All right. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Of course, there's still a high expected inflation, but this is definitely one to look out for, fundamentally a strong one. Let's go into the next one. Let's go into which one is it? Which one is it? Let me know.
Yeah. So number 2 is Audius. Now, this is a very interesting project because when you looked at Coinbase yesterday releasing a brand new list of coins that it is exploring, this is actually one that is on there. The ticker is Audio. Now, Token Metrics is a site that I use to do a lot of my altcoin research. And recently I did a roundtable with them. And I can tell you, Token Metrics, the team behind it, is super, super bullish on Audius. We've been exploring collectibles on blockchain, right, with NFTs, like the NBA Top Shots that we mentioned. Of course, I've got my own card game coming out on Wax pretty soon. Tops is all involved in the NFT space. Audius, as you would guess, are songs, is sounds on the blockchain. These are sound NFTs. Kings of Leon, a band that was popular, maybe 10 years ago, they recently put their entire album out, as an NFT. And there are many more that are exploring this. If you think of iTunes and how anyone can just go and buy, however many songs that they want, you'll have a song that'll get like 1 million downloads or whatever it is. Imagine if that 1 million downloads was limited and only a few people, or, let's say instead of 1 million downloads, only 100,000 people could go get that song. Well, now that opens up the price of that song to be based on supply and demand. So I think that really audio NFTs are, something that, people can be looking at. Right now it's ranked 246. I definitely think this one could get into the top 100. The overall market cap right now, as you guys can see there, is 206 million. So it's quite low. I definitely think Audius, especially if it can manage to get on Coinbase, I think this one could possibly 20x from here.
Yeah. What I like more about this one, that the fully diluted supply is not so far off as for Flow, for example. So maybe more risk, but also a higher growth potential here and a lower expected inflation. And especially when it's actually going to succeed, you always have this binary scenario, succeed or not succeed. But if it will, and it's covering the audio market on NFTs, might be a good one. Thank you very much for this one. And now, last but definitely not least, Eternity. So please elaborate a little bit on that one, why you like it and where it might be going.
Yeah, I love Eternity Chain, and just for full transparency purposes, this is the only one of these projects today that I'm actually invested in. I love Eternity Chain. When you look at what just happened with some honorable mentions, Chili's and Ecomi, those are two that I also really love. I did a video on them last week. If people want to head on over to my channel and check that out, you can. When you look at those two projects, they have absolutely crushed it over the last 2 weeks. They've gone up, several 100% each. And the question is, have those topped out? Maybe in the short term they have. Eternity Chain to me is the next one that's going to follow along that same pattern. Right now, similarly to Audius, is coming in at number 256. It has big names behind it. The Winklevoss twins, which if you know anything they invest in, they are winners. Look at Zcash, look at Filecoin, look at Chainlink, and of course, they were the first Bitcoin billionaires. They've thrown their weight behind this one. Then there are a lot of other very popular artists that they've had releases for, and I think that this one is definitely going to be the next major coin. I think this one has potential easily to get into the top 50, and that is definitely probably underselling it. They release their full platform here shortly in the next few weeks. Once the full platform is out, I definitely expect this one to crush it. I've done some numbers on this one, and I think it may sound crazy, but a 40x is definitely in the cards for this one.
A 40x. All right, man. All right. So you think this is going to be an outperformer for Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin might 20x, you still double the Bitcoin and get all the US dollar percentage increase. That's crazy, man. You mentioned Ecomi. I saw it recently. If I'm not wrong, I got proposed to invest in the private sale at like 1 Satoshi per coin. So that's like a 20x in Bitcoin plus a 10x in Bitcoin. That would be like a 200x. I declined. So
you get offered so many, Chris. But
it was like it was in 2018 or 19 or so, if I'm not wrong. Anyways, man, happy for everyone who made some gains on that one. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's always great to have you on the channel. I know that you are researching a lot about that, and yeah, it's for sure very good to have your picks here. I know you were very successful on many of those altcoins. So definitely, guys, as I mentioned already, the link is down below. Subscribe to BitBoy. You get a very nice board picture, especially in the altcoin market. I'm subscribed. I'm watching every now and then a video from the beginning until the very end. So for sure, a very good place to go to. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. Do you have anything to share before we are wrapping it up for today?
Yeah, just everybody. I mean, I reiterate this over and over again. Getting in the NFT world right now is very similarly to get in DeFi in, let's say, the spring of or Q1 of 2020. We saw what happened. Yes, DeFi did turn out to be a mini bubble. And at some point, people definitely, saw the markets crash. But now it's almost all the way recovered. And I think we're going to see something similar with NFTs, where right now it is the time to get in these. And these are going to continue going up, I think, for probably at least all the way through the summer.
Wow. All right. Let's get ready for this. But always, at least my own approach is don't throw all into one bag. Don't go all into DeFi. Don't go all into NFTs. Guys, that's of course very unreasonable. I'm personally always going to hold a huge stack in Bitcoin. Might be missing out on some of the gains, but for sure, I'm not going to be standing completely here on the sidelines, as I invested in DeFi in 2019 already. I'm very happily to be exposed into these different projects. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for watching until the very end. We are doing that weekly. We have another channel over on his channel, so go over, subscribe, watch the video. And with that being said, as always, guys, we are going to see each other very soon at the next one of MMCrypto. Click the subscription boxes of MMCrypto and BitBoy Crypto. And as always, guys, bye-bye.